Hello and welcome back to the movie Sins. A story about a turn-of-the-century prospector in the beginning stages of the company, with a focus on family, religion, hatred, oil, and madness. The story begins in the wilderness of New Mexico in 1898. Daniel Plainview operates his silver mine. Plainview breaks his leg, after using explosives to destroy the little mine. He drags himself out of the mine after discovering the silver ore and into town to sell it. He recruits a team, which includes a man taking care of his little son. Oil is found in the mine by Plainview after the silver lode runs dry. He creates a pump and transforms into an oil man while doing so. After the young father perishes in a drilling mishap, Plainview adopts the child and gives him the name HW. 9 years later, Plainview is still a successful but relatively small oilman. He travels the state with H.W. Dylan Frezier, who has several profitable wells, to purchase the drilling rights to private property. Plainview gives a presentation on his business strategy to residents of an unnamed town. He claims he does all the work himself, only employs workers he can trust, and will do away with the need for a contractor, a sort of middleman who will take more money from the community than Daniel thinks should go back to the landowners themselves. He further says that his son is a partner in the company and that it is a family-run enterprise. Daniel declines the offer and departs after being subjected to intense interrogation and raucous argumentation by the community because he believes they are a little too intelligent to be taken advantage of. After meeting with the couple, Daniel drafts a contract to drill on their property. The couple is hesitant, but Daniel persuades them by mentioning their kids. Later, the well bursts forth as a gusher. Paul Sunday, a young man, stops by Plainview's camp one evening. Paul provides information on his family's ranch in Little Boston, California, to Plainview, claiming that it is surrounded by an ocean of oil. Traveling to the Sunday ranch, Plainview and HW verify what Paul told them while ostensibly hunting quail. That evening, Plainview bargains with Abel the Sunday patriarch, and Eli, Paul's identical twin. Eli is a bland but aspirational preacher and faith healer, and the purchase fee of $10,000 will be used to create a new parish, the Church of the Third Revelation. Daniel consents to give Eli half of the money up front and the remaining amount after the derrick starts producing. Eli requests a prayer to seal the deal, but Plainview declines. At the Sunday ranch, Plainview gathers his team and begins construction on the first derrick. In order to avoid the railroads and their transportation fees, he purchases practically all of the land surrounding the Sunday ranch in addition to the drilling rights. This will allow him to build a pipeline to the coast. Only one person, William Bandy, is reluctant to sell. Eli wishes to dedicate the new project before drilling starts, but Plainview rejects him and asks Eli's younger sister Mary to do so instead. Plainview gets Mary a new frock as they start playing together. One evening at dinner, Jesus promises Mary in front of Abel that her father won't slap her ever again because she won't pray. Eli and Plainview are still getting on each other's nerves. Plainview finds it offensive that Eli asks his employees to attend daily prayer services because they need relaxation, while Eli gripes to him about employees drinking. However, Plainview instructs Eli to handle funeral arrangements after a worker perishes while attempting to liberate the drill. Eli gives a heated sermon about casting the devil out of an old woman with severe arthritis while Eli and the man are discussing the burial at the shabby church where Eli meets with the man. Eli says he will speak at the burial after Mass and informs Daniel that, if he had been allowed to bless the well, the accident might not have occurred. Eli ultimately amasses enough funds to construct the Church of the Third Revelation, which he names after himself. Eventually, the drill hits oil a few days later. An explosion results from the gases fleeing. Hearing-impaired HW was observing the practice from the derrick. He has a sour attitude and mistrust. Within the Little Boston area, Plainview will soon have 3 productive oil wells. When Daniel promised Eli and his church $5,000, Eli goes to Daniel and demands it. Eli is instantly attacked by Daniel, who slaps him and drags him to a puddle of mud before covering Eli with it. Daniel also makes fun of Eli's purported ability to do faith healing, claiming that Eli did nothing to help HW regain his hearing. Shortly after, Henry, a man claiming to be Plainview's half-brother, shows up at his house. Plainview hires him as a laborer since he has information about his family in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, his hometown. Plainview acknowledges to Henry that he views the majority of people with contempt and only utilizes them to promote his own objectives. He tells him, "I have a competition in me. I don't want anyone else to be successful." He also acknowledges that he can no longer do his work alone. HW prances through Henry's possessions and makes an attempt to set fire to the home where Plainview and Henry are staying because he is envious that Plainview has a new person in his life. Instead of punishing HW, Plainview decides he can no longer control him and sends him to a boarding school in San Francisco, leaving him suddenly on the train with his companion, Fletcher. Competitors attempt to pay $1 million for Daniel's wells, but Plainview rejects their bid and their patronizing support for HW. Plainview threatens the life of a rival who proposes that he should retire so that he can take care of HW. He visits the Bandy property with Henry to ask about renting the land for the pipeline's construction. They swim in the ocean after assessing the terrain. Plainview becomes alarmed when Henry doesn't appear to get a reference to Fond du Lac. That evening, Plainview threatens Henry with a gun and gets him to admit that he is not his brother but did know him in Kansas. Henry adopted the genuine brother's identity after he passed away, traveled to California, and then located Daniel. Henry is murdered by Plainview, who then buries him on the Bandy farm in a little grave. The following morning, Plainview is awakened by Bandy, Hans House, who informs him that he can lease the property if he consents to be baptized at the Church of the Third Revelation. Bandy admits that he knows Plainview killed Henry, and Plainview is forced to concur. He is baptized after publicly confessing his sin and leaving HW, being forcefully slapped by Eli on the dais multiple times, and receiving a warm embrace from the congregation. Eli also informs the congregation that Daniel has given them $5,000, the sum he owed Eli initially. When HW gets home from the boarding school, Plainview welcomes him with open arms. HW currently uses an interpreter and speaks in sign language. While playing together, Mary also picks up sign language. She signs the minister's sermon and marriage ceremonies to him when they get married in the late 1920s. Living alone in a vast estate and shooting his treasures with a pistol, Plainview has become into an even worse drinker, misanthropic, and solitary person than before. Plainview quickly grows more dejected, admits that HW was never his actual son, and insultingly disowns him when he says that he plans to relocate to Mexico and start his own oil company. Later, Eli pays him a visit in the mansion's bowling alley and discovers Daniel unconscious on the floor there. Eli informs Plainview that old Bandy has passed away and that his grandson wants to sell the oil drilling rights to his grandfather's land in order to finance his dream of becoming a movie star, with Eli acting as the deal's broker. Plainview is gnawing on the cold steak that remains from his dinner like a beast. Plainview concurs, but only if Eli agrees to claim that he is a false prophet and God is a superstition. Eli repeats this numerous times, and Plainview admits that since he owned every well around the Bandy ranch, he had previously used drainage to remove the oil from the Bandy land. Eli admits that he is broke as a result of poor investments, despite having a thriving radio preaching career. After chasing him around the bowling alley, Plainview kills him by hitting him with a bowling pin. Plainview declares, "I'm through," when the butler arrives to investigate.
I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Please hit the like button for support and subscribe, and click the bell icon to get a frequent notification on new videos posted to this channel. Until the next one, take care.